And over and above, like any technology, like a car gets you from point A to point B, like the purpose of a cell phone is to communicate, not to be a cell phone. And the purpose of a GRC is to give you that risk visibility and enable you to reduce your risk and capitalize, leverage opportunities from your risk. You cannot do that on a spreadsheet because a spreadsheet is this big with so many lines of data. And at some point, somebody's going to change your spreadsheet. You're going to lose that spreadsheet.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our interview with Tina Chugani. Tina is the managing director at Proxis LLC, and she's helping clients navigate the complexity of GRC procurement by providing objective, impartial advice. So, Tina, thank you and welcome to our Risk Management Show podcast today.
Thank you, Boris. Really happy to be here and to be speaking with you and the audience.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure as well. So I believe that we will have a very thoughtful conversation on the topic of how to navigate the complexities of a GRC procurement, that's what you are busy with. And we will discuss some top tips and advice when it comes to replacing or buying a new GRC solution, because it's a kind of hot topic. But before that, could you tell us a short story about yourself, about your career path, and what brought you to where you are right now, and what you guys at Proxis are up to these days?
Okay, thanks, Boris. Yeah, my key word is opportunity. Opportunity is what has led me to start this business. And if I go back and tell you the story, I'll unfold the steps that led me to this. So by background, I am a management consultant. I started with General Electric over 20 years ago in the energy business, actually. There I was taught project management, IT project management, Lean, Six Sigma, transformation, change management, all of those key fundamental skills, which is what I'm still doing today. After General Electric, I did a brief stint in banking, and then I went on to EY, where I was there for a number of years doing transformation, improvement, digitization across many industries, including financial services, healthcare, utilities, and ultimately from the UK, I then moved over to Dubai, and then I was working at Dubai airports, and I went in-house. In my career, I have done a bit of assurance work. So I've set up internal assurance functions. I have been doing process improvement, which ultimately translates into building those procedures and controls. During the course of my career and my jobs, I was then working with a resilience team, and that's where I was bringing different parts of my career and jobs together. So ultimately, I ended up doing transformation work based on risk management. So risks were being identified, and then we were mitigating them with procedures and controls. And we then implemented a GRC governance risk compliance solution with the idea of, doing what GRC says on the tin, bringing everybody together. We bought a product as a team, and unfortunately, the product didn't do what it said it was going to do. It was very manual, very difficult to use. So it was written off. A number of years later, I was consulting, and I then came across a product which was amazing. It does GRC. It enabled people in the risk landscape to work together and to leverage each other's objects. So of course, if you're a risk manager, then maybe internal audit wants to know what the risks are, and maybe internal audit wants to check what the policies and controls are. And when I saw this tool, I was, really blown away. And that's why I said it was the opportunity. I was in the right place at the right time with the right experience to go, I can now bring this product to a market. It wasn't in the Middle East market. And I thought I have the skills, the experience, the knowledge to understand what this product does and to understand what the customers, I was a customer once, what I need. So that's when I set up my business Proxis to bring leading technologies like this one to this part of the world. We carry a number of products, so we don't just offer one, because we work for our customers. Our customers will tell us what they're looking for. And then we look at the market to see which is the right product for them. And that's what we've been up to. And I've been very fortunate to have that opportunity. And it's been really cool, really fun. I love what we're doing.
All right, fantastic. So let's go deep into our practitioner part, your practitioner part. So why would a risk professional or CEO consider buying or maybe choosing switching a new GRC solution? What would be main driver for this decision?
Yeah, exactly. Like, what are the, there are two groups of people that we see buying. So there's people that already have a solution and they want to replace it. And there's people that should think about buying it, or they've thought about it and they now want to buy their first one. But why does any of them need a solution? And frankly, historically, the answer is because most people are working individually, typically on a risk register. A risk manager is working on a risk register. The internal auditor is working on his internal audit reports, his logs. Business continuity managers are working on their BCM plans. I was working procedures and controls, so we were working on procedures and controls. But because these activities are all interlinked, that's why you need a GRC, and that's why you should buy a GRC. Because when you roll it up at the strategic level, and risk being a strategic function, the only way you're going to get strategic is when the CEO and the exec team are asking for that kind of information. Nobody wants to see your risk register and line item 100 on your risk register. They want to know, what's the problem? Is it likely to materialize? And what can I do about it? Those are the decisions being made at the top. And a GRC enables all of this information to be brought together so that that information can be, one, visible across the landscape, and two, better for making decisions. So, I mean, if I elevate it, it's because the business case of a GRC is spreadsheets are completely, cumbersome, and they're not really useful. They're only useful for the person who's doing the work. But if the business wants to make a decision, they need insight and they need the consolidation of all of that information together. And that's why people should consider buying a GRC. Over and above that, of course, it eliminates all the manual work. You can eliminate, and this is one of my passions, Boris, is that I believe that everybody who's coming to work and doing their job loves to do their technical job. And I don't think that anybody wants to come to work to do emails and chase people. I think that risk managers love doing risk evaluation, risk assessment, and thinking about how to mitigate the risk. And that's what these solutions can do for you. They can eliminate all of that unnecessary manual work.
Mm-hmm. So what are some of the most common challenges organizations face when they procuring the GRC solution, and what key factors should they consider when evaluating potential GRC vendors or their solution?
Okay. Yeah, this is one of the reasons why we speak to our clients. So I'll start with one of the biggest challenges that I know of, and this happens to me actually, like even in everyday life, in my day-to-day life, familiarity, right? The vendors that have the most marketing dollars are able to push their solutions via social media, via marketing, to your risk management magazine, or to whatever publications you're reading. So you feel familiar with a lot of big name products, right? And that creates a bias. So automatically you start to think, oh, I know that product, therefore I trust it. If I see something on a billboard, I would, like a dishwashing liquid, that's the one that I go and choose. I don't know anything about that product. I haven't done any research about it. So for me, this is a big red flag. Then the next thing that I would advise anybody who's considering buying a GRC solution is that actually there's 1,500 plus GRC solutions. So there's a lot of choice out there. Some businesses, they are very risk averse. In financial services, for example, extremely risk averse, and they will only want what the analysts have rated. So the problem with this, and I use the analyst reports a lot, they provide a wealth of information, but we don't truly know how the analysts are rating those products. I know that some analysts, they only require a video submission of the product. But I know if I want to test that product, and this is why I meet with vendors even before I bring their products into our portfolio, and I ask them live, can you show me how you would make this workflow? Change this workflow for me. Change the permissions right now. Give me permission. So in a live environment, I can see, is it easy to do? Could I do it myself? So analyst ratings, I think they provide a wealth of information, but you need to just understand how the analysts themselves are making those decisions. And then, you know, in our part of the world, like data hosting has become a real challenge now. So almost every country has their own data protection laws. And in the EU, you're fortunate that you have the EU as a whole and you can host in the EU. It gives you a lot of coverage. But in the Middle East, we are by country. So data hosting is very limited. I mean, over and above that, buying any technology, GRC aside, it's very complicated. There's a lot of steps to it. There's a lot of parts, for example, information security, the fit, the contracting. So you really need the technical expertise. You need the patience. You need a project plan. So I think that, you know, for practitioners, sometimes they are only buying the technology maybe once or they're replacing once. It's a big project, and that's the challenge that they face.
Mm-hmm. And how important is integration of a specific tool with existing systems, and what steps can the organization take to ensure a seamless integration? Because there is probably a lot of different millions. I know I've been to a lot of events on GRC. There are hundreds and hundreds of tools. So a new kind of practitioner can be a rookie practitioner can kind of draw in this process.
Yes, that's a really good question. That's actually one of the questions that many of our customers and the GRC practitioners will ask, because they have, so for example, I'll give you a very typical integration is Jira, the ticketing tool. So many of the GRC products, the modern products that we deal with, they all come with an open API. So you can integrate. Then you go to the next level, which is that they have native integrations. Now, in native integrations, that's where you have to look at the product carefully and understand, does the vendor already have the integration? And can I just connect? So some of the vendors, they already do. They have a number of these connections ready to go out of the box. Some will ask you to pay an extra fee for them. Some include the integration within the fee, the native integration. Some will say, we don't have it right now, but we will build it for you. They might give you, they might charge you to do a bit of that work. But I would say from my perspective, having spent over 20 years in the IT transformation space, integrations, what we're seeing are now much easier, much faster than what we used to do 20 years ago. But I would say look for native connections and please ask.
Fantastic. So in terms of a budget, how should the organization approach a balance between cost against the value and benefit they provide of the GRC solution? And do you have any tips from the practitioner point of view?
I mean, the budget varies. I think the good thing now is that I've seen there's so many products that go from, I would say, cost effective to extremely high. If you were my customer, I would then be able to advise you a bit closer. But effectively, what the number one thing I would recommend to all customers to do is do a request for information to your vendor and ask them for a ballpark pricing so that you know. If you don't know, like let's say you're not replacing a system, because if you're replacing a system, you know what last year's cost was and you have an idea of your budget. But if you truly don't know, then you should ask the vendors for an RFI so that you can prepare maybe for next year's budget. But in there, you get some really cost-effective solutions. So even I will not say numbers, but some on the lower end, which are just as effective and come with a lot of capability. And you also get some very high-priced solutions. But I think you need to be careful of what you're getting. So some of the high-priced solutions, they do offer some capability, but you are paying for implementation. Now, the implementation is one of my favorite things to talk about, and one of the reasons why we set up Proxis. So the products that we offer are no code or extremely low code. So implementation used to be, implementation used to be somebody's life, right? With no code, it could be a matter of 6 weeks and you're up and running, because there's a lot of out-of-box functionality and it's pure drag and drop. So you need, when it comes to pricing, you need to check what are the elements that you're paying for. You'll be paying for subscription, the license fee. You'll be paying for implementation. You will be paying for maybe some professional development if you're asking for some integration. The pricing varies by vendor. The way they price is different. So you need to, and this is where a consultant can help you put all of that data together, or a really good business analyst or project manager will help you structure it so that you can see over the 3 years how much in total you're paying. But I would also add that when it comes to all of these solutions, like I know one of our customers, they picked one of the solutions we carry, and she said it exceeds the value for money in her expectation. It was a really good price. And because of the team that did the implementation, she got so much back in terms of the value that they brought during implementation. So, yeah.
I would like to ask you your personal point of view for what is the major misconception in the field of GRC implementation that you kind of strongly disagree with?
Somebody once said to me, well, GRC, it's nothing more than just an admin tool. And I got very, as you say, like what makes me really sit up. It's not just an admin tool. If you want an admin tool in GRC, then you can use, I'm using Microsoft Teams. You can use Power Automate or any of these Monday.com to build these workflows. A GRC is not just automating. I filled out a risk assessment and then the next person has to review it. What it's doing is assimilating all of these information, connecting technical bits of information and giving you insight that you otherwise wouldn't have. And over and above, like any technology, like a car gets you from point A to point B, like the purpose of a cell phone is to communicate, not to be a cell phone. And the purpose of a GRC is to give you that risk visibility and enable you to reduce your risk and capitalize, leverage opportunities from your risk. You cannot do that on a spreadsheet because a spreadsheet is this big with so many lines of data. And at some point, somebody's going to change your spreadsheet. You're going to lose that spreadsheet. So this is my, this is my bugbear. I love that question, Boris.
Yeah, fantastic. That's a kind of view. People get a ballpark understanding why they need this tool instead of just Excel or just simple Monday.com processing tool. So, Tina, looking forward to the future, what trends or developments do you anticipate in this GRC procurement field?
I'll speak first about GRC, then come to the procurement. So what is trending a lot at the moment and what a lot of the vendors are looking into is, of course, like everybody else, generative AI into the systems. So some of them have already integrated elements of Gen AI into the tool. For example, there are use cases around helping you to create policies. So when you're writing policies, Gen AI can help you generate the policies. Like all of us say when it comes to ChatGPT and other such tools, you still need to do the work. The Gen AI can help you, but you still need to review the policy and make sure it's relevant to your organization. Similarly, I think in terms of procurement, I would personally say that there are not many, there's a lot of vendors that are working, some vendors go direct to the market. Many vendors are working with distributors to create that market reach. So it becomes difficult for, I think, practitioners to know where to start that GRC journey. Some of the more experienced organizations will look at the analyst reports and then maybe go for the top 3. But that's where you might be missing, top 3, top 5, all the people in the wave or the magic quadrant, whichever one they're using. Or, as usual, what my friend told me. So you go to a conference and you keep hearing this word, and you're like, oh, I'm going to Google that. You become familiar. So I think in terms of procurement, procurement is a fairly standard process, the typical process where you issue out the tender and then wait for the responses. That is still there. But I think what I would encourage practitioners to do is go one step back and really, before you do the RFI, do your own research and understand what are all the solutions out there, and then start to do that RFI. The RFI can really help you to understand not just the classic GRC solutions, but some wider technologies. I wanted to connect one other trend that we're seeing. So, for example, in regulation technology has been using a lot of machine learning, AI, for a number of years. So that is connecting those two, I think, is the next. You can integrate them. There are tools that we're integrating, but I think I'm seeing a lot of customers who are asking for that to be inbuilt into the solutions.
Fantastic. So if we summarize our interview for someone who is listening to it and would like to walk away with 1 or 2 major takeaways, what would it be?
For me, to any of your audience that's considering this, what would my top tips be? It's, first of all, planning. So plan that, if you want a GRC, okay, I want it by the next year, I have a 3-year plan. Great. Then work backwards from my RFP. And what does my company need to buy this solution? Maybe you need a management sign-off, you need 3 quotes. How do you get the 3 quotes? You get it from 5. So this is where your RFI comes in. So, and then from planning, you can determine your budget. You can determine, does the data need to be hosted in country? This is really important, because if I just say, yes, I want a solution, and then I go and choose a solution which is not yet hosted here, but later my legal comes to me and says, you can't buy this solution, and I'm so far down the road. And then prepare. So again, a project plan is really critical, but in prepare, you want to do things like requirements, definitions, the solution demos, then the use case demos, do the technical demos. And again, I would really encourage your end users to, okay, fine, the vendor will ask you, what do you want to see? Great, tell them I want to see internal audit, I want to see, and fine, you can say in internal audit, I want to see the Gantt chart, enterprise risk management, the dashboards. But when you get into the solution, ask them on the spot, can you do, for example, can you change the resource model for me now? Can you give me a chance to use the system for a few minutes? I would encourage, I operate with honesty and transparency. If I cannot do it, then, and I know many of the vendors that we work with and many other vendors out there, they will tell you, we're strong in this capability, we don't have this, we're working on this, or this is just not on our roadmap. And that's okay, because ultimately you will need to make some trade-offs. It's a technology. The other thing that I would advise anybody listening, and this is for any technology purpose, you'll want to plan time to do your information security review. So get your cybersecurity team involved early. Also get your legal contract team involved early to tell them this legal contract is, because that's where the time will be taken up. Your legal team will go and redline, and their legal team will want to, that will take a few weeks of negotiation. And also the vendor due diligence. So yeah, those would be, and then I think another thing to be aware of is the payment. So SaaS products, so software as a service, they are usually upfront payments. So if you are not used to paying upfront and you are used to milestone payments, you need to make yourself aware and your business aware that maybe the payment modules are slightly different.
All right, awesome. So those were all my questions. Perhaps if I forgot to ask you something that you will see, you regard as important to our audience, please go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to. I think the audience can, see from my. I love this topic. The reason why I love this is because I want to change lives. I set up my business because I love working. I lived to go to work. I loved my colleagues. I love doing the work that I do because I gain something from meaningful work, and I love seeing people progress in their careers. So for me, it's all about meaningful work. The world is a better place when people have meaningful work. The reason that I'm sharing this ahead of this example is because when we have helped clients and in-house, when we have done this kind of work, when I've done this kind of work, this is a short story of what happens. We have people who are head down in spreadsheets and they're just working on their one thing. And then we form a project to say we need a system. We form a cross-functional team. So already the change starts to happen. People start to make relationships. They start to share information. And this is one reason that I loved GE, because we worked in a matrix environment. So I had friends across the world and it was so seamless. And you form a truly cross-functional team. You procure a system together and you go through the procurement together. So you see the vendors, you see other customers, you start to talk about, oh, if we had the system, we could do this. And people start to imagine. You procure the system and you go through implementation. Again, as I said, implementation is a lot easier now than what it used to be. And coming to one of my examples, when my clients started to implement, because of the no code, because of the drag and drop, she's able to change her own workflows. And she suddenly has the power to do things that she would have to go to ask IT, 6 months before, and it would take 6 months to make the change. So suddenly she's empowered. And I think people come to work with a spring in their step because all of a sudden, again, back to what I was saying, the risk manager is coming to work to do risk, not to do emails and not to follow up on somebody. So this is, this is my passion. And I think I definitely would wrap up my side by saying that, I think if you are considering a GRC, it's nothing to be afraid of. It is a big purchase, but there is a lot of help out there. It's something that's been done for time and again. But I would, caution you to be aware that there are a lot of vendors out there. But buying the right GRC will really reduce the risk in your business and enable you to capitalize on those opportunities and make your employees happier.
All right, fantastic. That's what good finish to all our interview. I think it will be very useful for our audience. And Tina, I wish you a great success with your company and you personally, and hope we will cooperate in the future with Global Risk Community in our podcast. And you feel free to subscribe to join our community and put your content if you have some blog posts or articles or whatever things you want to discuss with our people. You are free to sign up. Thanks again.
Boris, thank you so much for having me on. It was really lovely to talk to you. And I love the risk community. It's a fantastic community and resource.